Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and I wanted to bring you a video today on how you can farm 1,000 death breath per hour in regular Diablo 3 rifts. Extremely easy. This build is ridiculously easy to gear. I didn't even have a wizard this season. I started as a necromancer, and I just threw this together by gambling with the blood shards I earned on my necromancer, and then switching and gambling on my wizard. I was able to throw this together in one night. I don't really have any ancients. Like my weapon is an ancient, nothing, and I'll have footage on the screen showing me playing in Torment 11 and just slaughtering it. It's really easy. And when I tested it, I wanted to play for about 10 minutes and see how many death breath I got. I played for just over 9 minutes and I got about 140. So if you extrapolate that over the course of an hour, it would be like 900 something. So and that's just in T11. Like I could easily gear this to go T12 or T13 and get 1,000 death breath per hour for sure. So I'm just going to kind of go over the gear really quick, what's in the cube, the skills to use, and how to play it, and you should be able to do it as well. So first, the build revolves around the Wand of Woe. This is what's going to make that explosive blast trigger a ton of extra ones and give you that burst damage you need to kill the elites and the consistent damage of those things constantly exploding around you. Now, this build has hundreds of different variations. There's a lot of different moving parts in this build that you can use. I think the Sage is like great because I want those death breaths when I'm farming. So any build that has Sage, I think is great for farming those GR keys. And I also have the two-piece Firebird because I want that cheat death ability. I play hardcore, so if I disconnect, having that extra cheat death ability, that's just a bigger chance I'm going to be able to survive. And then the six-piece Tal Rasha set because it's going to stack up those multipliers when we use those elements. So that's kind of the sets involved. And then we're going to have Nemesis Bracers because we want to be keeping our NGM up. We're going to be using that in the cube. I might as well go over what's in the cube really quick. I've got the weapon as NGM so we can reduce the cooldown and be able to crank out our teleport and our explosive blasts, as many as possible. And that gives us mobility and damage. The gold wrap is going to make us basically invincible when we're speed farming, so you don't have to worry about molten or anything around you. You can just move around the rift and not worry about dying. And then the Ring of Royal Grandeur is going to help me stack those bonuses, help me stack the Sage bonus and the Tal Rasha bonus without needing those extra pieces. Now, if you're playing on softcore or you're not like as worried about dying, you can actually use the Orb of Infinite Death or the Tal Rasha offhand. So then you could there's a lot of different customization you could do. That would free you up to wear like a cinder coat or hexing pants. Like there's a lot of different things you can move around. This is my setup because I'm prioritizing not dying on hardcore and being able to even survive a disconnect, hopefully. So that's kind of my reasoning behind this build, but this is a general guideline for you. And then once you have it built, you can kind of mix and match the moving parts as fits you the best. So the amulet, Tal Rasha Allegiance, is probably going to be a must have and maybe the toughest piece to get in this build. You can upgrade rare amulets to legendary in the cube. You can go over to this upgrade rare item and try to get that Tal Rasha amulet. But that might be the hardest piece to get out of all this. And then the rings are going to be focus and restraint because we're going to be, every time we see an elite pack, we're going to left click on them to cast our lightning, and then that's going to keep our damage up. And then, yeah, you want to stack as much cooldown as possible. So what I like to do on this build is set my goal at like 50. So my cooldown reduction is 49.85. I think 50 is the sweet spot. So anywhere, around 45 to 55, somewhere in there is where you should be aiming. The build is probably playable at anything over like 40. So that is kind of the general. I think I went over every piece: the rings, the amulet, the armor, the six-piece Tal Rasha. I play with the two-piece Firebird just so I can have that death proc. Wanda, yep, that should be all the pieces. And then when we go into the skills, We're gonna want Electrocute. The rune doesn't really matter. Electrocute is what's gonna give us our lightning proc. You see down here in the bottom left. That gives us a Talrasha stack. And then teleport Calamity, that's my arcane stack. So every time I teleport, you can see on the bottom left, I'm generating that arcane stack. Diamond Skin Prism, this is what allows us to not run out of arcane power when we have Ingium up and we're spamming those explosive blasts constantly. I mean, you're casting it like once a second. So that's going to enable us to not run out of arcane power. You want to spam that on cooldown. So we cast it, it lasts for a little bit, it comes off cooldown in like 6-7 seconds or whatever, and then you cast it again. Black Hole, absolute zero. This is what I use to generate my cold stack. I don't really use it at all during the rift, but I use it at the start just to help me get rolling, help me kill mobs and generate some gold and generate some toughness. But once I'm rolling through the rift and I have my Ingium up, I don't really use this ever. Magic Weapon, Force Weapon. This is just going to be a 20% damage buff. There's really nothing else to put in place of it as far as what I can tell. So why not take that 20% increased damage? And then Explosive Blast Chain Reaction. This is what the build revolves around. You know, every time you cast it, you're going to get that chain reaction. So it just helps you sustain a ton of damage during the rift. For the passives, we've got Unstable Anomaly. Again, if you're playing in softcore, you probably don't need this. You can switch it out for something like Glass Cannon and do even more damage, but I go with this because I play hardcore. Evocation is going to give us 20% cooldown, so it's a really good passive for this build. Audacity synergizes awesome with Explosive Blast because Explosive Blast has a 12-yard radius, so we're going to be within 12 yards of everything we kill, so we should have Audacity up all the time on everything we kill, 30% extra damage. Illusionist, this is really good for speed farming. It's going to give us a permanent 30% movement speed because we're going to be teleporting every 3 seconds for sure, and this buffs our movement speed 30% for 3 seconds every time we teleport. So that's going to be a permanent 30% movement speed buff. It's going to help us get through that rift as fast as possible. Now, as far that's kind of the build and the gear and the cube, the general play style and things you need to know while you're playing. So what we need to do at the start of the rift is we need to get our 4 stacks. So we're going to cast our cold, our fire, our lightning, and our arcane. And that's going to give us our 4 stacks. So we go cold, fire, lightning, arcane. And now I've got those 4 stacks. Now, one thing to point out, when we read this Talrasha 6-piece, attacks increase your damage by 750% for 8 seconds. Arcane, cold, fire, and lightning attacks each add 1 stack. At 4 stacks, each different elemental attack extends the duration by 2 seconds up to a maximum of 8 seconds. That's kind of long-winded, but basically what you need to know is you got to get those 4 stacks, and then after that, you only have to use 2 different elements to keep those 4 stacks. So even though I have to use, cold, fire, lightning, and arcane, after that, I only need to use 2 of those. So I can use lightning and fire. So what I do is I get my 4 stacks, and then I just use left click and explosive blast. Left click and explosive blast. My left click keeps my focus and restraint, and my explosive blast does my damage. And just doing those 2 things, just left click, explosive blast, left click, explosive blast, that'll keep those 4 stacks up permanently. But at the start, you do need to cast everything, all 4 elements, to generate those 4 stacks. After that, it's easy. You just do your lightning and your fire, and you're set. So the most dangerous part is right when the rift starts. What you're going to want to do is use Black Hole to group up some monsters, some trash mobs, and group them up to make them easier to kill and get all your stacks up, and then kind of slowly kill those first couple of monsters. And then once you've picked up some gold, you're set. By the way, the gems I use are the Bane of the Powerful, the Bane of the Trapped, and the Boon of the Hoarder. That's going to give me a ton of toughness and basically make me unkillable because of the gold. And then this synergizes awesome with the Explosive Blast, and this is just more damage. I mean, you can kind of play around with the Bane of the Powerful. You can use like the Wreath of Lightning for the movement speed or something like that, but these are the ones I use for it. So, and we also got to spam our Diamond Skin every time it's off cooldown It's going to help us keep that arcane power up. The magic weapon, we only got to cast it once. It lasts for 10 minutes. And we just want to spam our explosive blast. And then once it's up, we cast it again. So pretty easy. It is a little bit of, you have to remember to spam the diamond skin, which, some people forget to do that. But other than that, and then you just spam explosive blast. And then you just left click when you see mobs, and then you teleport around looking for elite packs. So I'll show you kind of the start of the rift and what I'm doing here. Rift starts. And we're going to start spamming everything. Now I'm going to play it kind of easy, simple. I'm going to play it nice and easy. Generate some gold to get my toughness up. Alright, now I got some gold, and I'm off to the races. Now I basically can't die. As long as I keep killing monsters, I can't die. And now I got an elite pack. And now I've got my NGM, and look how fast my explosive blast is now. Oh wait, I didn't get it. Oh, I missed one of the last minions. Alright, now I got my NGM. So now watch how fast my explosive... Look at that. Look how fast those are. And I can teleport constantly. And I get an elite pack from the shrine. And look how fast it just blows up. So yeah, then you just run around the rift. Killing, one-shotting elites and getting a ton of death breath. And it's pretty simple. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it down in the comments and I will respond and help you out. And if you have something that you try out that you really like, definitely let me know. So, I'm always willing to listen to input on things that people try, especially for a build like this where there's a lot of different moving parts and things you can try. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.